What's up, guys? This is Kephas, and in this episode of Legion Beta First Class Impressions, we're taking a look at the Fury Warrior. Check him out, man. This camera angle is fantastic. I'm on a Tauren now, and it just, perspective really has a huge impact on how the game feels, and looks, obviously, because it's perspective, right? And you can just look at the detail, like just the difference in how the character looks on screen, just like that third person angle. It's amazing, and you'll see a lot more of that when we get into the combat. It's just really nice, and the way, like, I'm on a Tauren, and that head bobble just really helps you feel the weight of playing a huge race like a Tauren. It's really fun, so I thought that'd be a really good showcase for the Warrior. Now check out these awesome freaking weapons, man. These are the hang on, there we go. These are the artifact weapons that you get. Pretty sweet, huh? That was a fun little quest line that I did. So let's take a look at what the Fury Warrior has to offer. It's actually really simple. No surprise. Basically, it's all about building rage and spinning rage. It's a lot more simple, I guess, kind of, than it was. Actually, it really hasn't changed much from how it was done before. There's just a few changes, some talents that you can look at that make it a lot easier. Basically, what you're going to do is you still have your charge. Watch charge. Boom! I just tackled that thing. And then you set Berserker Rage, you're building up your rage, and then when you have enough, you'll use Rampage, which does that crazy, like, 3-strike combo deal. Pretty sweet, huh? Look at these awesome... I feel bad killing these horses, or whatever they are. But hey, you know what? We gotta have something to test out on, right? So, anyways, basically what you're gonna do is you've got Bloodthirst, and then you've got Raging Blow, and then you've got this new attack called Furious. Let me look it up real quick. I'm not good with names, so I apologize. Furious Slash. So basically, Bloodthirst, 4.24 second cooldown. And then Raging Blow. Now, I'll show you. I have a talent that's made it have a cooldown. Normally, you can only use Raging Blow when you have Enrage happening, just like it used to be. But I found I like using the cooldown because it's easy. Look, it gives it a 4.24 second cooldown. And then Bloodlust, or Bloodthirst, also has a 4.2 second cooldown, so it means I just hit both of those at the same time, right? Hit one, then hit the other one. They share the same cooldown, really easy to keep track of, makes it a lot simpler. And then when you have those on cooldown, you're going to use this new ability, Furious Slash. It's just kind of like a filler ability to use when you have nothing else to hit, so you always have something to hit, which is kind of nice. So it just hits the target. Let's see what it says. Aggressively strike with your offhand weapon for 14,000 damage. Increases your Bloodthirst critical strike chance by 15% until it next deals a critical strike, stacking up to 6 times. That's pretty cool. So that'll continue to build up the critical strike chance of Bloodthirst, so that way you'll eventually get a critical strike. So you want to use it, obviously. With this playstyle that I'm using, it's almost like I can get 1 Bloodthirst, 1 Raging Blow, 1 Furious Strike, and by then the Bloodthirst is ready to be hit. It's off cooldown again, especially when you throw in the Rampage and the Rage and stuff like that in there. So it's really easy. So basically, like, I have a macro. It's not perfect, but it's what I'm using now. It does cast sequence, Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, Furious Strikes, and then it recycles. And it usually, I'm never waiting. Everything's off cooldown. So watch. I'll go up here. We'll target this guy, charge in, Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, Furious Strikes, and as you can see, Bloodthirst is off cooldown again. Raging Blow, and then do Rampage. Look at that. It's so much fun. The Warrior, those, like, sound effect changes, the animation changes, make the Warrior so much more fun than it used to be. I always felt like Warriors, like, there was just no give on their attacks. Warriors are awesome, but they didn't really feel like they were hitting things very hard, which is exactly what a Warrior should be doing. But with these animation and sound effect changes, that's exactly what it feels like when you're playing a Warrior. Really satisfying. A lot of fun. I might actually switch to playing a Warrior in Legion. So anyways, so that's basically the rotation, and obviously you still have Execute. As you saw, it'll glow when it's ready to be used. You can only use it whenever the target is below 20% health, but there are some mechanics involved with the artifact weapons and some talents that you can choose that can make Execute a lot of fun. You'll do a lot of Execute spamming to increase your haste or something. Really cool. So there's a lot of stacking buffs that you can get with your abilities, and honestly, a lot of the rotation is highly dependent on the talents that you choose and how you're going to play the class. So let's look at talents real quick, and I'll show you what I've gone with, and then obviously, you know, we can go from there. So yes, we are playing a Fury Warrior, and here's the talent tree. There are some passives, and then there are some additional abilities that you can add. So let's go over. level 15, you can get War Machine, which killing a target grants you 30% haste and 30% movement speed for 10 seconds. This could be really good if you're doing a lot of trash or if you're out leveling. This actually might be really good for leveling. I don't see this being as useful for raiding, but it's still kind of a neat talent to have. It also could be good for PvP if you're getting those killing blows. That's the thing about killing a target, means that you have to get the killing blow, and otherwise I don't think you get the buff. So I don't usually like to go with those talents. I am going with this one, which is Endless Rage. Your auto attacks generate 30% additional rage. I thought having more rage means that I can do more rampage and more whirlwind. Obviously, I forgot to mention whirlwind is still in the game. It's for AoE. It has some really cool effects we'll go over. So I thought having more rage would be the best thing. So lastly, you've got this one, Fresh Meat. Passive Bloodthirst has a 30% increased critical strike chance against targets above 80% health. So it's really good burst for the first 20% of the fight on the enemy. So that can be really handy, especially when you're using a lot of Bloodthirst. But again, I like having more rage. I don't know which is better. I feel like this is more sustainable through the whole fight as opposed to just the first 20% of the fight. So I went with this one. I felt like it was the best choice. I mean, obviously, like I always say, these are not min-max guides. These are for simplifying the class and just going with what you like. But you can pick any of these. It really won't change up too much how you play the class, I don't think. So anyways, there you go. Now these next ones, this is interesting. So you've got Shockwave, which is the same as it's always been. It was really popular. I remember when it was implemented, it was a Prot Warrior thing. It just does like a shockwave forward. What's cool about it is if you hit 3 or more targets, it reduces the cooldown by 20 seconds, making it a 20-second cooldown instead of a 40-second cooldown. So that's something to think about. Does pretty good AoE damage, and I believe it also stuns. Yeah, it will stun. So it's a really good option for that. Obviously, though, it's another ability that you have to manage in your rotation, so consider that. And obviously, if you're single target, it's going to have a really long cooldown, so it's up to you. It's not going to be the easiest way. And then Shockwave or Stormbolt is back again, 30-second cooldown. So that's a really long cooldown that you can use. Does some damage and also has a little bit of a stun effect like it had before. But again, these are both abilities, which means that you're going to have something more to worry about in your rotation. So again, it's up to you. I am going with the passive, which increases the maximum number of charges by 1 and reduces its cooldown by 3 seconds. I love charge. Having that option in battle, moving around, having more mobility is nice, especially when charge can help you generate rage. So that's what I'm going with. It might be better, more DPS to go with one of these two options, but this one means that you don't have to worry about as many abilities, so it's simplified, right? That's what we're going with. If I have Gnome Sequencer, though, I can easily put these two abilities in a macro, and then they'll just go off on cooldown, so that's something to remember. I can always do that. So whatever you choose is up to you, but this will be the easiest thing to manage because then you'll have less abilities to worry about. Next up, we've got Wrecking Ball. Pretty sweet. Your attacks have a chance to make your next Whirlwind cost no rage and deal 200% increased damage. This is a really cool ability. I don't know how it plays out. I feel like this could add Whirlwind into the main rotation. You get a free Whirlwind. It does a lot more damage. You can hit it. It's obviously going to make AoE better, and there are some other talents that can complement this and synergize with this really well. So it's a really good option, but it means that in single target fights, you might want to use Whirlwind. I don't know exactly. I haven't gone with it because I don't fully understand how it's going to affect the rotation, but as you can see, this can change up your rotation and add Whirlwind in more often. So if you're not a fan of procs, you might not want to go with this one. I am going with Outburst, which just Berserker Rage now causes Enrage. Just makes it so that you'll crit. I think Enrage makes your Rampage crit harder. It would also make it so that you could use Raging Blow. But so it may not be great for what I'm doing it for, but I think it makes it so that your Spenders will also crit really hard. I could be wrong about that. It's what I'm going with now. I might actually switch to this. And then obviously the last one is Avatar. Just a buff on your character. It looks really cool. You turn into this big, bigger stone-looking version of yourself. Increases your damage for 20 seconds. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown, so if you want to have a burst ability thrown in the mix, there's that. Obviously, that I'm not a fan of these. You could easily macro Avatar in with any rotation macro or any ability that if you don't want to manage cooldowns separately. A lot of people like to manage their cooldowns separately. It's usually better if you manage them separately because then you can control when to use them at the right times. So I don't like them personally. It's not my favorite, but it's really good for PvP, really good for bursting at certain times, that kind of thing. So it's up to you. Again, like I said, I'm not a big fan. So next up, you've got 3 more passives, actually. So this one, Charge, also increases the healing from your next Bloodthirst by 300%. Pretty nice. Just a nice healing. I thought that'd be really good for PvE especially, so I'm going with that right now. This next one is called Bounding Stride. Yeah, Bounding Stride. Reduces the cooldown on Heroic Leap by 15 seconds, and Heroic Leap now also increases your run speed by 70% for 3 seconds. So really good mobility. If you like using Heroic Leap is awesome, so it's not a bad choice. And then lastly, you now only take 20% increased damage from Enrage. So it lowers the amount of damage that you take from Enrage, so it'll add more survivability. Obviously, that's not a bad choice either. So it's whatever you want. I'm going with this one for leveling. I might switch this one for rating. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want, whatever you feel like you need. It's not going to change how you play the class. Just mobility or survivability. It's entirely up to you. Next up, Massacre. What I'm going with, Execute Critical Strikes. Reduce the rage cost of your next rampage by 100%. So this is nice when you're getting down to the end of the fight and you're using Execute. This will give you a free rampage. Really cool. Rampage is a lot of fun to hit, so I went with that one. But, you know, I haven't really thought about this until just now, but it only really matters during the last 20% of the fight, so I may actually switch to something else. Let's see what else we have. Frothing Berserker. When you reach 100 rage, your damage is increased by 10%, and your movement speed by 30% for 6 seconds. I might actually switch to this. What this is going to mean is that you're going to want to get to 100 rage so that you can get that buff and then spend your rage. I am not choosing this right now because when I do Gnome Sequencer and I make macros and I have Rampage in the macro, it's going to be that you're not going to be storing up a lot of rage, which is actually fine from what I can tell, because the only real ability that you're going to spend rage on will be Rampage, and then when you're at 20% health, you'll start using Execute, but Execute requires a lot less rage than Rampage, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Actually, I can switch the macros, so that way you can have it so that one is for Execute, one is for Rampage, and you'll be good to go, and then I can also do one for Whirlwind. So there'll probably be 3 macros with each rage spender in the macro if Gnome Sequencer works. But that means that this talent will be really hard to use, so the other alternative would be to just have a macro with the builders and then put the spenders separately on the action bar, but then you're going to have to monitor your rage, so, you know, that's something to think about. But yeah, this is a really cool talent. I like it. Again, though, it changes up how you play the class. Lastly, we've got Blade Storm. Really, you know, Blade Storm, just a big AoE. You turn into a giant, like, spinning dude, like a spinning top. It's a lot of fun. Really good AoE damage. Obviously, though, again, it adds another ability to the rotation, so I usually don't go with it, but it is a lot of fun, and I would not blame you if you went with it. I wish it was, like, I don't know if it is. Maybe it is now. I don't know. It'd be really cool if, like, it was a good single target ability because it's so much fun. I used to love using it back when they added it in the game, and I would love it if it was just like an all-around good choice, but it's a minute cooldown, so there's that too, but it's really good for the beginning of each AoE fight. But yeah, whatever. It's another ability, so I usually don't go for other abilities just for simplicity's sake. Next up, we've got 3 more passives. Okay, a lot of passives in this talent tree. Meat Grinders. Whirlwind causes your next Rampage to strike up to 4 additional targets for 50% damage. Really good AoE option. Next up is Frenzy. Furious Slash increases your haste by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Good option, actually. Really cool option, because I think each time you get a new stack, it resets the 10-second time frame of that buff. So that means that as long as you're getting those Furious Strikes in at least once every 10 seconds, then you'll eventually build up to 5, and you'll always have a lot of haste. So it's a good option to consider, but I'm going with this last one. Inner Rage. Raging Blow no longer requires Enrage and deals 100% increased damage, but has a 4.5 second cooldown. So this is the one I went with because I like it. I like it because it's going to be easier to manage a Gnome Sequencer. It really won't, actually, because with Gnome Sequencer, it'll still just use it whenever Enrage happens, and then it'll use Raging Blow. But I liked it for now, especially because it's easier to keep track of, because it shares the exact same cooldown timer as Bloodthirst, so it's really easy to use those at the same time. That's what I went with, but I really like this talent. This looks like a lot of fun, so I might consider switching to that eventually. And then obviously this is a great AoE alternative. There are some talents that are specifically more useful for AoE, and some that are specifically more useful for single target, so, you know, there's that to consider as well. And then lastly, Carnage, which is what I'm going with, reduces the cost of Rampage by 20 Rage. Just means that I can use Rampage more often, which I think is a good thing. Again, that'll also play in a factor if I do the macros, set them up a certain way. This will make it so that I'm not draining as much, but also just mainly that I can hit this ability, Rampage, more often. I love Rampage. And then there's Reckless Abandon. Battle Cry generates 100 Rage. So Battle Cry is you no longer have Battle Shout. Those buffs are gone. You have Battle Cry, which is like a buff that'll increase your damage or whatever. It's just like one of those cooldowns, and this will give you 100 Rage every time you use it. I think it's like a minute cooldown, so you get an instant 100 Rage whenever you use it, so that's an option. But again, it's more bursty than anything, but it's definitely a good option. And then lastly, you have Dragon Roar, which is the 20-second ability. Basically works the same as it did before. Let's see what it says though. Roar explosively, dealing 9,000 damage to all enemies within 8 yards and increasing all damage you deal by 20% for 6 seconds. Dragon Roar ignores all armor and always... That's what's nice about it. It ignores armor. You do it every 20 seconds, gives you a buff for 6 seconds, does massive AoE damage and pretty good single target damage too. So there's that as well, and since it ignores armor, that means it's going to hit harder than you might think it would. So that's an option too. But again, it's a new ability. I don't usually go for extra abilities. One of the nice things that I'm seeing about these new changes with the classes so far, this is the third one that I've looked at. I'm going to do a Demon Hunter eventually as soon as I kind of understand that class more. But what I'm noticing is they're doing a lot, like they've done a lot of pruning, and people don't like pruning, but they're also adding in talents to make it so that if you want to, you can make the rotation more complicated or less complicated. It's all up to you, and there will probably be min-maxers that have something to say about that, as there will be options that are probably more useful, more effective than others, but regardless, it is what you want. But as you can see, this is what I'm going with. It's a really simple rotation. You just charge in, you hit Bloodthirst, you hit Raging Blow, you hit Furious Strikes. If you don't have enough rage, you keep hitting Bloodthirst, Raging Blow. I'll do Furious Strikes in just because. Then he's dead. Then I hit Rampage. Boom. Spend that in Rage on the Rampage, dealing more damage. I think that's how that works. I'm not 100% positive on that, though. I don't fully know. This is a first look, not a complete guide. I'll have more information as I continue to play the class. But now, as you can see, I can also do Execute. Did you see the impact of that camera and how that made Execute look? That was amazing. Even when you just pick up loot, man. It's really nice. So anyways, that's the Fury Warrior. It's a lot of fun, man. I mean, I've had a lot of fun playing this one. The only time it really sucks is when you don't have the rage to hit, when you want to do Rampage like crazy and you don't have the rage for it. But yeah, but it's really fun. I'll show you Whirlwind since I got 2 here. Give me some rage. There we go. Boom. Did you see that Whirlwind? Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention. You also have this new ability, that one right there. It looks a lot like Whirlwind. It's your artifact weapon ability. You can do it like once every, I believe, 30 seconds. Look at just how the cameras really help to add to that, the way that works. Man, it blows my mind. It's more with this class than it was with the Paladin, in my opinion. I mean, look at that. Just the impact that camera really helps out. I love the action cam, man. So this other ability that I forgot to mention, you get this when you get your artifact weapon. Odin's Fury. It's a 45 second cooldown. It's a really long cooldown, actually. But it unleashes the fiery power of Odin bestowed on the weapons, dealing a lot of damage. Well, I got disconnected. Hang on a second. How rude! How rude! I am reading a tooltip game, and then you disconnect me. Well, at least I got back in really fast. Reset my cooldown too. Okay, so dealing 29,000 fire damage and an additional 4,000 fire damage over 4 seconds to all enemies within 20 yards. So it has a really large range, larger than it would seem considering it just looks like this. But there you have it. So that does a lot of damage. Uses every 45 seconds. That can easily be macroed. No big deal. It's probably really good single target and really good AoE. So let's see what Heroic Leap looks like. Boom! That's amazing. It's wonderful. Just look at this crap, man. It's just probably makes some people that are motion sick. I apologize again. Like I said before, if you have motion sickness issues, I apologize. You might not like this camera, but for people like me that just love the action, man, it just really turns this game into feeling a lot more like an action game, you know. And the less I have to pay attention to the action bar and more on the actual game, the better. So I'm really liking a lot of these changes. But nevertheless, that's the Fury Warrior, and it's a whole lot of fun. So I hope this guy, this guide, kind of these guys are running from me. Come here, I want to kill the horsies. Run! I need food. We're serving IKEA. That was a joke. It's an old dated joke. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it gave you some information, my thoughts about the Fury Warrior. Quite simple to play, easy peasy. Even without macros, it really wouldn't be too hard to play this class. Again, the min-maxers might freak out about the use of macros, but who cares about those guys, right? We're here to just have fun. So anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the feedback on the other videos. I'm going to try to get more out as soon as possible, so thank you guys. Leave comment, leave feedback, like, share with your friends, all that good stuff. You guys rock. So have a wonderful day. This is Kephas. Until next time.